Hi, my name is Linda, and here we are at Hawaii, and here I am with Richard. Hi, Richard.
Hey, it's nice to see you. It's great to be with you and your audience this evening.
Now, before we go to the question, tell us about yourself, what you do, and yeah.
Proud CEO of Costa Rica's call center. We work with outbound telemarketing, inbound customer support, located here in beautiful Central America, where my agents are bilingual in both English and Spanish.
Right. I want to know is how can his listeners improve communication in team settings?
It's an excellent question. Saves a lot of time so people don't have to repeat themselves. And you can take these notes, and when it's your turn to speak, you can ask clarification questions. You can even find areas where you have things in common. And so by speaking second, by taking your time and letting somebody share all of their thoughts, I think that improves the best form of communication and experience.
And uh, what practicing have you used to handle misunderstandings in class communication?
First is I think people always need to slow down. And if there's a lot of things you need to talk about, just take it one step at a time, even have a checkpoint. And so there's no rush when ideas are flowing. And so I also believe that all of our different senses can be used. There's so many different ways to communicate, different mediums. Some people like to draw, or they'll use scents or music or colors, or sometimes they'll bring things with them as props to make their point. And so people are geniuses and experts in one thing. And if that's their way to communicate and have that sort of interaction with people, by all means, that's their greatest strength. And so I think people just need to be patient and allow individuals to express themselves, as I say, in the most comfortable way and also the most effective way.
Right, and this question, how do the tone of voice affect how you're making this society?
That's a great question. I've always recommended to the telemarketers to have a confident tone, to be empathetic. I think that's something that could work with the entire world. Everybody loves compassion, and it's sincere when you show it towards others. But tone is very important because it could be misunderstood. If you don't know somebody very well, you could be catching them on a good day or on a bad day, and you might judge them accordingly. And so it's very important to sometimes ask follow-up questions, 3 if you're able, just to see if there's a consistent pattern or if their tone happens to change when you do show sincere interest in somebody, or you snap them out of the sort of thing that they're distracted on because they really should be with you in the now, in the moment. But a lot of the times they're thinking about bills they have to pay, their family, making dinner, their job. Even today, I was thinking about this podcast a couple times before coming here tonight. So of course I'm excited. Your mind gets a little distracted. So maybe giving people the benefit of the doubt, trying to test them in 2 or 3 different types of situations to see if they're consistent. If they're angry at everybody, maybe they're just an angry person. And if they're happy all the time, maybe they're not realistic. It's okay to be positive and confident, but also you need to be human. You just can't always put on a mask in a certain face. And so when somebody is sincere, it's like telling the truth. You can be that way multiple times, and it's a long play. It's just something that you're not going to get caught on, or you're lying, or you're uncomfortable. So as I say, maybe people should take deeper breaths. They should ask clarification questions to see if it's me, if it's you, if it's that guy. I don't know. But yeah, my friend, you'll sometimes catch people on the best day or the worst day of their life. So a lot of times that's how their tone gets created.
So, what are the some effect ways that you community feedback better?
Me personally, I like to be diplomatic. I would ask for your permission first before making any sort of suggestion. So let's say I did get your permission. Then instead of just attacking you or critiquing you, I would relate with you. I'd let you know what I did wrong, ABC. And I see that's what you're doing. So now it's 1, 2, 3. And so there's nothing wrong to show and to show past experience. If you happen to fall in the mud, just tell people to avoid it. And me being the age I'm at, I'd like to pay it forward. And same with you, my friend, with your amazing podcast. All you're doing is sharing excellent ideas with people. And so people can get very sensitive. They can be defensive. Depends on what they're looking to get out of that feedback. But for me being an owner of a call center, I have the right to listen to your phone call, and we can grade it with quality assurance, and we talk about certain questions that are asked, and as you mentioned, the tone earlier, and if you're using your name and active listening, everything, all the great questions you asked me prior. You'd be great at this job. Really, you would be amazing at QA and listening to people. And so you let them know if they're in rhythm, if they're missing a beat, and you can see certain things because I've seen you at your best. We've all listened to your podcast, so we know what you're capable of doing. And so sometimes between me and you, I'll use Philly guilt. I'll let you know you're better than this. Come on, man. I saw what you were doing last week. And so the best friends, mentors, and teachers you can have are the ones that will call the balls and the strikes. It's true. Let you know if you got mustard on your face because they love you. They're just going to let you know. And so these are the ones that will tell you when you're doing a great job and also let you know when you need to pick it up a little bit. And so hopefully when we have 100 times of working together, you'll see that the feedback that you're saying that I'm giving you is earned because I was there during the good and the bad times.
So, like, how can storytelling be used as a third job skill to engage others?
Greatest thing ever is when someone tells you an amazing story. I loved it in school. Remember in kindergarten and first grade, there would be story time. And television, the best shows are the ones that let you feel that fantasy and imagination. But also it's real. I tell you what, when people start telling stories about themselves, you see a different side. They light up a little bit more. They have more depth and width in regards to vocabulary, experience, and detail. It is the truth because they've told this story 1,000 times. I tell you, when I'm hiring people, this might answer your question. I ask them to turn the piece of paper over and write me a coming of age moment, a time when they beat up a bully or saved a kitten or just did something absolutely incredible. Why? Because you might be on a podcast one day. You might be hanging out with somebody that's great, and they're going to ask you a question that's not business related. Can you answer another type of question? I just want to see if you have something in you. And so storytelling, you don't need to disclose too much, and it's very weird if you pry and ask for sensitive information. But man, if they told you a time when they came out like a champion and overcame the odds and surprised themselves. That's a great thing. You kind of need that on rainy Wednesdays to pick yourself back up when you're not feeling.
Right. And what role does verbal communication play in the sources?
Conflict resolution, huh? That is a very sensitive game. When it comes to conflict, you have to understand who's in charge. Who really calls the shots in that situation? Is it somebody's ego? Are they trying to make a name or a point? Is it somebody that's extending too much authority and just trying to walk around with some chip on their shoulder and an ego? But what I don't ever want to have happen are deal breakers. It's true. Imagine if you said something and you don't talk to somebody anymore. Or they say, you got 5 minutes to give me an answer. I might want to sleep on it, and so I think that if you can give somebody the luxury of time, if you can, I don't need to agree with you, but if I understand your position, at least I understand it. I mean, a lot of people like to swim in very, very cold water. That's not my thing. I understand your position. I just don't agree with it. I like it warmer. And so that's okay. That's what makes kind of the world go round. Not everybody likes my music or movies or certain lifestyle choices. And so as long as I say, you're willing, live and let live. If it's not hurting anybody else, hurting the company, as I see it's not destructive, but it's something that you're passionate about, I'll support it with you. I don't need to win that battle. You can sometimes sacrifice a pawn. I'll give you a good example. Instead of saying excuse me to somebody, I would always say for my clarification, Carinder, for my edification. I'd fall on that sword. I would repeat what you said back just to ensure that you knew that I knew that I understand it. And so, not saying you have to win every battle, but I mean, there is common courtesy if it's somebody's home, somebody's car, somebody's a boss somewhere, you almost have to respect what they've built, and you're a guest in their home, in their environment. So that kind of shifts things when it comes to conflict. But if it's mano a mano, yeah, have a strong back. Stand up for yourself. Don't use profanity. That lessens the argument. And don't shout. You don't really need to do that. But if you really want to upset them, just smile. It only gets them even more upset when they're with you. But the worst thing you could ever do is raise your arms and get physical or give somebody just saying something very mean or low that you would regret and one day maybe want to take back.
Right. Exactly. How can question visual interaction?
You know what that does? That reduces so much weight. It's true. Seriously, if someone's carrying your luggage for you. Like, I'll give you an example. I could say, do you like ice cream? Of course you do. But if I say, what kind of ice cream do you like? That's when you tell me you like triple scoop, waffle cone, the chocolate syrup and all the fixins. You answer it for me. As I say, it's hunting well. It's really good hunting. And you're not just carpet bombing questions. It's almost like a sniper. You almost hunt with an arrow. Beautiful target hitting. And what it does is it reduces the defense of the people because they're speaking more. Imagine like when you're in class and a teacher encourages you to ask a question by saying that's an excellent question. You ask a really good open-ended question. Really, you can kind of sense the temperature of the call. And if you're going to get a positive or a negative reinforcement of feedback. A lot of people use this as closing techniques. For an example, they'll say, what's the best time to get back in touch, Tuesday or Thursday? Or mornings or afternoons better for you? Or they'll try to get people to give them specific times. What's the best email address? Things like that. And so, but I think it should be used accordingly. Open-ended for me are the times when you mentioned in your earlier question about storytelling, because instead of asking what you're there for, which could be to qualify for business or to get something from somebody, there's a nice way, like a half moon. Doesn't have to be a straight line because there's no real straight lines in nature. I like curves because it doesn't hurt and you get distance on it. And so when you can ease in a question through something that's non-threatening, that's an excellent way to use that open-ended question to parlay, to jump clouds, and connect ideas in a very healthy way.
Right. What are the examples of verbal communication techniques that can be employed?
Things that evoke defense, interruptions, crosstalk, mimicking, condescension, where you just talk down to people, that's terrible. And also some vocabulary can really get people upset if you use, as I mentioned, profanity when it's not appropriate, or you just start insulting. It's very dangerous. It's how you make people feel. It's something that people will carry with them for a long time. So words are weapons. They could be very sharp, but it'll also be the light that gets people through things if it's just loving and reassuring and confident. But I think that what people cannot do is to take somebody for, let's say, a fool or for an idiot or that they're less than. People will think and speak differently. And the quiet ones, you might not think are smart, but they're the genius. They're the ones that are observing. And so I think a lot of people will prejudge immediately somebody from how they look, where they come from, traditions, cultures, you name it. That is probably one of the most foolish things somebody can do. So in my mind, all it's doing is misdirecting and missing the target and stereotyping people, which will only cloud your judgment on someone when you should really be meeting them for the first time and having them as almost like a blank canvas to paint your own picture. So I guess living abroad, you being in Malaysia and different parts of the world, if you ever have the luxury to travel or to meet people like yourself from other places, you realize we're all the same. And all I try to do is in the foundation of relationships, what you have in common with somebody. And so me being a gringo, an extranjero, a North American in Central America, yeah, we're put into a certain category for certain things. But I don't think it's fair. They shouldn't judge me on what somebody else did or did not do. But maybe, my friend, that's maturity, kind of seeing things a little bit differently. But I think most people, they just kind of go with what they see in the movies and what their friends tell them, and they're just not really maybe willing to take that chance and get to really know someone.
Right. So it's like open-minded as well. Like open mind.
Of course, open-mindedness.
Yeah.
I know what I know. I have no idea
Yeah.
what you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the greatest thing is for you just to tell me what you know.
So what are the missing expressions of the paintball in the country?
What a great question. What a passion to all these beautiful machines. Listen, I'm a retro gamer and I understand people play these machines on the, with their handhelds or on their phone, but there's nothing like playing an actual pinball machine. Well, when you get them, it really depends on the condition of it. The ones I got here in Costa Rica are about 30 to 40 years old. There's a lot of corrosion. So what I had to do, instead of trying to fix things with electricians, I just pretty much replaced the parts. So any sort of CPUs that you can get for the lights, for the sound, for any sort of interaction behind the marquee for a couple $100, just replace it. Because that's usually what the problems are on these machines. Naturally, the lights go out. Sometimes you got to fix cables. You don't want to tilt the machine and be too hard on them, of course. And but that's pretty much it. They kind of, once you get them restored, they kind of run very well. But are you able to find machines out there in Malaysia, in the neighborhood, any sort of arcades or anything? You seen a
Yeah.
few?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like a kid. Listen, I had a chance, I had a business, so I had the space, and a lot of arcades were going out of business. And so I would pick them up for a fraction of the cost. Of course, as I mentioned, restore them. It's not that expensive. Once they're ready to go, they're just gems, they're treasures, and everyone wants to enjoy them. And so my favorite decades from the 1970s. These were electromechanical machines. It was on
Yeah.
contacts, not the computers. And so you get the bells and the open play field. And it's the last decade when they actually painted the wood. Now they're using
Yeah.
stickers. Yeah, so super retro for me. So those are my
Mm.
favorite ones to collect.
So how does the theory system in paintball typically work?
Need to know the game. There's targets, and there's a certain order that you need to do it as well. And so those are the areas where you can get the maximum of points. And usually the machines will light up certain areas and tell you where to hit. The later machines would give you multi-balls. So then if you hit those certain sort of targets, you could then have 3 to even 8 balls playing it sometime. It's incredible. What most people do is they just hit those flippers and the ball just go, and you can play it like that. But half the time you want to trap the ball. There's ways you can strategically catch it. So you can just take your time and launch these certain shots and slow the game down. Like even in basketball, sometimes they slow the game down a bit because you might be missing shots or you're running too
Yeah.
fast. And so it's a perfect rhythm with the game. But if you've played it enough and you read about them and you master it, I tell you, it takes you just to another level. But my suggestion for your audience is to slow down the game and try to trap the ball. Just don't hit those flippers, and you might have longer games and more successful games.
What was the first family successful paintball you think, and why is it popular?
Oh, you're asking me some Final Jeopardy questions. I wouldn't even know exactly which one it was, but I can maybe reference the Who and Elton John's Pinball Wizard. I mean, they made a movie about it, Captain America. I mean, it's those are the sort of things in my mind, I guess, that Hollywood and rock and roll glamorized it. And Pinball Wizard's a great song. You know what's really cool? I love old movies, like Humphrey Bogart movies. So Alfred Hitchcock. And when I'm watching these movies and they show bars or saloons and other areas, I get a treat. I get to see an old jukebox and I get to see some of these older machines. But, in the 60s is when they started putting in the flippers, which was cool. And as I mentioned, the 70s, they tried to even put in these little areas where you can bounce off on, they try to save some balls. But I guess it depends on the decade. of when they converted over into certain sounds and things. But it's the ones that are the most popular. People love the Kiss pinball machines, as I mentioned before, but I see a lot of rock and roll bands making them now. The AC/DC machine, Metallica machine, they're fun. These things are great.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses was an incredible machine that I played. So, you know what it is? It's really individual taste. I've bought, sold, and traded machines. It's not because I didn't want to collect as many as I could get. I didn't have the room, but it's really individual preferences, the sort of games that you want. I mean, I would trade any of my newer machines for ones from the 70s anytime, even though the price differential. But really, it's as I say, a lot of the times the people love these machines for the lights and for the sound. You know, it's a beautiful machine that I got. It's a 1986 Williams Pinbot. Most people would know that machine. It's a simple play. Oh, but the
Yeah.
lights on it, beautiful machine. And so when I have friends come over, I got 11 machines at the house now. That's usually the machine that people go to first. That one or the NBA Fast Break.
Right. How the model people machine affect digital technology compared to visual models?
These machines today are computers. And in fact, the scoring system usually shows a screen and they're showing videos and stuff like that. And so, yes, I mean, they're extremely expensive. Why? Because the cabling is just complicated, but it's right there. The older machines, as I mentioned, they had individual little circuits that you had to put in and the change on these motherboards. So they get corroded or broken. It's kind of a pain to fix those things. And then those electromechanical ones, as I mentioned, were the contacts. Those are the easiest ones to fix. And those wires are still lasting. But the machines today, it's incredible what they have done. For my own taste, though, I think that they're putting too much out there. There's a lot of distraction, which is fine, but it's really closed the play field. I really like open play fields for long shots. And now a lot of the times it's either covered targets or it's darker or it's just, I don't know. I like it where unless the pinball area is very lit, it's sometimes tough to see the game if the lighting is bad. And so those are my little quirks on the certain machines.
And what skills such as timing or hand-eye contact are important for excellence at paintball?
In fact, for any sort of job that you have, instead of just looking at your phone, Instagram, or having a cigarette, if you play pinball in between things, it keeps your mind sharp. Yes, hand-eye coordination. And you don't have time to act, really, you need to react. And it's kind of funny because when you stand at the table, people have certain stances either for their body to relax or to be able to increase their reflexes. And as I mentioned, once you know the table, you can predict certain shots. The timing becomes better. You can almost, as I say, close your eyes and know where that ball is going to be or how it's going to hit. So I mentioned before, trapping that ball is essential. And if there are certain times when you can get extra balls, that's your target that you're going for. You want to hit that stuff. Because a lot of the times the highest scoring one is the one that might kill the balls. You know, it's too much of a high risk shot. And so, as I say, if you have a chance even before you play the machine, to really take a look at the certain areas and really understand it. And if you can, look online, the PDF manual, and just see if they can give you any tips and tricks. But as I mentioned before, the goal is to trap that ball and slow that game down. And if you can, you'll get the most amount of points.
Right, this is the last question, we're out of time. You have to move your TV show that the popular of paintball machines.
My generation, it was Generation X. We grew up on pinball machines. And the older generations I mentioned always saw them around, depending if they played them or not. But they're very iconic. They're in a lot of different, as I mentioned, movies and shows, just to either show you the sort of time piece of what it was, or just for nostalgia purposes. A lot of people are opening up bars and areas where people can have drinks and play games just to have fun, or it's my age of the generation. But I'm saying these machines, when they used to copy the cartoon characters, like a Superman machine or a Spider-Man, those are always so much fun. The artwork is so nice, especially the cabinet when they would do the paint or the artwork on the outside of these machines. If you go to arcades today, they're usually a generic machine. Usually. So, I mean, it depends if you're at a Dave and Buster's or these other sort of large arcade areas. But the ones in Costa Rica are just in generic cabinets. They really took their time back in the day and really didn't miss a beat for all of that detail that they used to put into these machines. And so it was a wonderful way, as I mentioned, to market their product, to have people, cheer on their favorite machine. But I get excited. It's like a fine wine. There's a place in Arizona that I go visit called Starfighters. They got over 100 machines there, and such classics such as like a Flash Gordon, which I love to play. That's such an old machine. And as I say, if you ever get a chance just to try all these different machines, you will see, kind of like if you drive a car, you get different types of toppings on your pizza. It's the same, but it's a little bit different in its own way. And just like comfortable shoes or that favorite sweater that you have, there will be that one machine that you relate to the most. And if you and all your buddies are at the arcade and everyone's playing, they know where to find you. You're in the corner, putting your $5 down on your favorite machine. And so it's a nice connection. You get a chance to meet the ones that you like. It's art though. You have to think about it. It's really, it's what you find attractive, not what I find attractive on these machines.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for joining. And before we go, do you have any events that are going on?
A couple things. I support the local arts down here. So I produced a rock video with a local band called Igni Faroki and hired the bass guitarist of In Excess, Gary Beers, to play bass on it. So the song is called Shine Like the Sun. You get to see my call center there in the video, and I made a cameo. And I also created a rap breakdancing commercial video for the call center too. So I try to have fun. I like to do things that are music related that involve the arcade machines. And so if you get a chance to check that out, that'd be cool.
And check out the social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, and his website, all are in the description. Guys, take care, and yeah, be well.
You take care, buddy.